Idiot! I forgot to turn the mic on. Well done, Travis. Okay, Travis Carter, Carter's Corner. Today is the 4th of June. Carter's Corner Daily. Welcome to everyone in the chat room. The chat did say. Oh no, she's dropped out. We did have Taz in there earlier, but I think she dropped out. But anyway. So I did something very, very clever. I forgot to turn the microphone on. Go me. So before I start, I am a little bit early. Don't worry, got my coffee. So one of the things I'm noticing over the last couple of days, this might be just a small trend, but there's certain people. The health minister is one of them. They used to put all their press releases out first thing in the morning, like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. I actually got a few like 6:30 in the morning. It was pretty early. But I'm noticing they're being pushed back further and further and further. So now I used to get all the press releases in the morning, do the show at 1:30 and good to go. But it seems that now they're trying to push everything back past 2 o'clock. Now, gee, I wonder, is that because I'm starting to hit a nerve? Maybe. Interesting. So we'll have to wait and see. See if this trend continues. Still very little communications at all from the opposition. And this isn't just the Liberal Party, this is also the Nationals, because you've got to remember the Nationals are actually the opposition in WA at the moment. So Maya Davies, and Shane Love, I'd love to start seeing you guys start talking more, showing more, because we do have a federal election coming up. My guess, because it hasn't been called yet, so it's total guesswork at this stage, probably August next year. It will get called around August this year. We'll have a 12-month campaign, and they'll push it out as late as possible, which will be August, September next year. Pretty much, it's so close at the moment that if one seat changes hands, and then it's a change of government. So, yeah, the Liberal need as much time as possible trying to counter the bushfires, the COVID, and all that sort of stuff. So, it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, getting into it, we do have our first press release, and it is from the one and only Roger Cook. So this came out about 2:30 yesterday while I was getting the kids from school. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of interesting that these press releases are coming out when they are. So this one, panel to inquire into Perth Children's Hospital ED announced. So 6-member panel to investigate the Perth Children's Hospital Emergency Department. Inquiry expected to take about 10 weeks. Panel's findings will be tabled in both houses of Parliament. I don't know why, because pretty much Labor's got both. Probably a bit of a waste of time. The McGowan government has announced the makeup of the independent panel which will inquire into the emergency department at Perth Children's Hospital. From personal experience, being there a couple of years ago with my daughter, they were phenomenal, good. This is just purely my suspicion. I think there was just a breakdown of communication, a one-off sort of thing, and unfortunately it has resulted in a death. But that's okay, we'll come to that one in a minute. The inquiry to be conducted by the Australian Commission in Safety and Quality in Health Care, so the ACSQHC. Yeah, they're going a little bit overboard with acronyms. Follows the death of 7-year-old Ashwath in the hospital's emergency department on April 3rd, 2012. Under the terms of reference, the panel will focus on specific factors that contributed to Aishawa's death, but will also investigate the functions and operation of the ED and the hospital's approach to clinical governance, risk, and adverse incidents. The inquiry panel nominated by the Commission includes medical and nursing leads with significant experience in pediatric emergency medicine, so pretty much some kids, and members with experience in clinical governance, medical administration, and safety investigation. So I'm just going to quickly jump over into this one here. So it'll be led by Emeritus Professor Les White. who's an oncologist and academic who was executive director of Sydney's Children's Hospital from 1995 to 2010. He was also inaugural New South Wales chief paediatrician from 2010 to 2016 and president of the Children's Hospital Australasia from 1999 to 2004. So I actually really, really like the fact that they're using a child doctor as the lead on this. Because he knows what kids need in a medical situation. They're trained. That's what their profession is. They know it inside out. So I've had a quick look at some of these other people, which I actually don't mind. But we'll get to that one in a minute. So the other members of the panel, Carolyn Hullick, I think that's how you pronounce it, emergency physician, specialist in clinical governance for Hunter New England Health Services and clinical director at the Commission. So again, very high up person. Kylie Stark, registered nurse with 37 years. I'm so stoked that they have an actual genuine nurse here to bat for the nurses. It'll be interesting to see how she works. Because from the early reports that I've read, it looks like they're blaming the death on the nurse for not doing her job properly. So she has 37 years of pediatric experience and 15 years experience managing tertiary pediatric emergency department and the current nurse manager for Sydney's Children's Hospital Emergency Department. So you're looking at one of the busiest hospitals in Australia. So this woman, Kylie, she's got 37 years of experience and 15 years experiencing the emergency department. So she knows her stuff. So I hope they really take her opinion into account. Naomi Poole, Director Strategy and Innovative at the Commission with a background in psychology, governance, leadership, health system and policy design. I'm not sure about that one. She might... I'm trying to look at this as a positive light because we need to get some positive out of this situation. It's really sad what happened. What I'm hoping is Naomi will start listening to some of these very, very experienced people and go, okay, so this is what happened. This is how we need to change it. So to get from point A to point B, this is the steps that we need to take. So that's my thoughts along for having Naomi Poole there. But we'll see. Mike Wallace, the Commissioner Chief Operating Officer since 2012, who has extensive experience in health management. I'm hoping he'll work closely with Naomi. Health management, not sure. Professor Gary Gelhode? I don't know. My faith in health officers after the pandemic isn't very high. Someone goes around, hey, I used to be a chief health officer. Oh, yeah, okay, whatever. So former chief health officer of WA, director of the emergency department at Princess Margaret Hospital for Children for 22 years and current chief executive of the WA Health Translation Network. So I don't know. So if you take out the chief health officer for WA, it sounds great. But the office of chief health officer has just been tainted so badly. I just can't. Yeah, I don't know. Like, he probably did a really good job. I don't know, but just anyway. And Suresh Rajan is the representative for the Ashworth family. So I really hope that the family does get some answers out of this, because a preventable death is never okay. Now, the bit that I cannot stand about this, so the death was back in April, I think it was. Yeah, April 3rd. We are now the 4th of June. That's 8 weeks to get this shit sorted. This should have been done immediately. Death should have been gone, okay, so this was a preventable death, straight away inquiry into it, what went wrong, find out what went wrong, get the family answers. This should have been done, started, and halfway through finished by now. This is extremely slow response from the Labor government, and it's not acceptable. Alright, so David Russell Weirs, Director General appointed to the above members from the ACSQHC to conduct the inquiry under the provisions of the Health Services Act. the ACS-QHC is the expert body established by the Commonwealth Government to lead and coordinate national improvements in the safety and quality of healthcare. The inquiry will begin in June. We're already in June and expected to take 10 weeks. Its findings will be tabled in each House of Parliament. I don't get why they're tabling it in both Houses of Parliament. We'll probably end up with God, I hate trying to pronounce names like this. We'll probably end up with a law or something along those lines. But I don't know if that's enough, to be honest with you. We'll see. Okay, so the terms of this inquiry are going to be quite interesting. Okay, so any matter raised by the Ashworth family in relation to the care and treatment of their daughter, which is fair, I don't mind that. The conduct of the root cause analysis, RCA, any issues identified by the RCA, and the recommendations made on the basis of those findings. So it'd be really interesting to find out the root cause, why she actually passed away. I don't even think the family knows why she passed away. The emergency department staffing, patient flow model, clinical supervision, and education programs as recommended by the RCA. Now, the one thing I would really like to find out, was the emergency department understaffed on that day? What was the flow of patients like? Was there the proper clinical supervision required? Why was not, when the nurse checked on her, why was that not referred to a doctor for a second opinion? That is something that I find will be really interesting to find. Okay, the culture of customer service within the emergency department in relation to children and their families, particularly those with cultural and linguistically diverse backgrounds. So pretty much people who don't have great English. Now, I don't know about you guys, but every single hospital I've ever gone to, I don't think there's been many people there who didn't speak a second language. There's so many, and this is one of the great things about Australia. We've got so many different people in the community, and there's so many different people who speak multiple languages. Like my wife speaks Vietnamese at home. I've got a very small amount of Vietnamese language. So for the hospital not to have someone that could speak their native language, I find that a little bit hard to believe. Roles and responsibilities of clinicians, management, and the executive at Princess Perth Children's Hospital, and the escalation of issues to the Child and Adolescent Health Services Board. So that should be something that's straightforward. Like, if there's a problem, refer it through. If they're scared to send it through, why? Because when you refer a problem through, it's not because you're a Karen and you're having a problem with it. You've seen something wrong, something's not right, and it needs to be fixed. And if they haven't escalated a problem that they knew previously and it didn't get fixed, that's really bad. So that'd be a very interesting thing to have a look at. Perth Children's Hospital clinical incident management process, including the assessment and previous SAC1 incidents to identify potentially preventable factors. This is probably by far the most important one. Was the death preventable? My understanding is yes. Why was it allowed to still happen? So there's a lot of times where the why is actually more important than the what, and I think this is one of those factors. It's still sad that the child passed away, but we need to know why the child passed away. Perth Children's Hospital's clinical risk management process and the performance of Perth Children's Hospital in relation to safety and quality measures as compared to national peers. I think that's stupid. I don't think there should be a rating system within hospitals because populations are different, demographics are different, situations in the community are different. You can't compare Perth to Sydney because it's like comparing a Granny Smith apple to a Royal Gala. Like they're both apples, yes, but they're totally different. They taste totally different. You can't compare them. Anyway, so a few things I think shouldn't be in here, but others very good. We welcome, so this is from Roger Cook. We welcome the announcement of this panel, which should provide important answers for both Ishwara's family and the WA community. Members bring a wealth of experience, expertise and experience, and we thank them for being part of this important review. One thing they haven't brought up is how much are these people getting paid to be a part of this review? It's always good to keep track on the financial side of things. If they're only allocating, say, $10,000 to do this, I think that's a crock of shit and you need to allocate more. This needs to be a very, very thorough investigation, and there should be sufficient budget in this to get the answers that they need. So again, I'm not always about saving money on things. Some things we need to spend money on: education, health, employment, things like that. We need to spend the money to make sure that the jobs are there. So all in all, bit of a fluff one. It's just good to know that they're actually doing something about it. Do I think we'll get the results that we deserve and that the family deserves? I highly doubt it. My faith in the government at this stage is pretty non-existent. To be blunt with you, I think that the government kind of sucks. They're really not good. It looks like we've got some other people in the chat, which is kind of cool. So welcome everyone who's in the chat. Feel free to send a message through. And if you do have any questions, just type it in, say g'day. Awesome. All right, so we are now going into one from the Honourable Don Punch. So Don Punch is making a return for this one. Let's make sure that's picked up the right document this time. Don Punch, thank you very much. All right, so, and for those who are new to the channel, I do not read these beforehand, or I try not to. So these opinions are fresh off the cuff. There's no research behind it. There's nothing like that. It's purely opinion based. So, all right, so let's have a look here. Your registration now open for inaugural Cyber West Summit. Yeah. Considering how many cyber attacks the WA government and everything gets, this will be interesting. All right, first Cyber West Summit to be held in Perth from June 24th, 25th, 2021. So that's in about 3 weeks. More than 30 speakers confirmed, including former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. Just for that alone means I will not be going to this event. This is Cyber West Summit. So cyber is like security, like cyber, internet, and all that sort of stuff. What's Malcolm Turnbull got to do with any of this? Okay, anyway, events expected to attract more than 400 delegates and exhibitors over 2 days. Registrations are now open for the inaugural Cyber West Summit, which will be held in Perth from June 24-21. The summit will bring together thought leaders from industry and government to discuss the lead role innovations has to play in protecting against growing global cyber security threats and Western Australia's economic development. So to give people a bit of a rundown, prior to the federal election, I was associated with the party. I'll get to that one in a later video. We got called in by the West Australian Electoral Commission or the Electoral Commission? I can't remember. It was one of them. It was one of the electoral commissions. So it was at this point they made us do a seminar, a training session in regards to handling and dealing with personal information that we received during the election. When you're a candidate, you receive access to the phone number, the residential address, the full names, and the whole heap of other information of every single household within your electorate who is eligible to vote. Okay, so you've got hundreds upon thousands of people's private details. We were informed at that seminar that 2 major political parties, and one of them was the big 2, had suffered a data leak where every single name, address, and all the other information from every single person where they had a candidate. Now, you got to remember, this is one of the big 2, so it's pretty much every single person across WA, all their personal information was leaked. Did it make the news? No, it didn't. Another one that came out, I think they call it Command 1. There was the head of the Australian Cybersecurity was reported to admit that out of the 77 million email, password, and username combinations, so you got all 3, there were 77 million of them. He confirmed his own personal details were in there and it was 100% correct. So Australian security is dismal to say the least when it comes to cybersecurity. Another example, and this is the reason why I will not download the COVID Safe app. So the app itself is phenomenal. It's very, very well programmed. This app itself is safe. The problem is the app takes its all the information that you that it gathers, and then they send it to the health department. And the problem lies in the health department is they then publish it, which they shouldn't be doing. They actually got caught publishing someone's full medical history, which is a massive, massive no-no. So the government just sucks at these sort of things. Like anything to do with cybersecurity, Labor, Liberals, Greens, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, they all suck. They're just really, really bad with it. Okay, anyway, so cyber attacks cost the Western Australian economy at least $150 million per year. Estimates suggest a single cyber attack costs a small business a bit around $7,000. Aiming to attract more than 400 delegates and exhibitors, the two-day summit will showcase some of Western Australia's cutting-edge cybersecurity companies. Why okay. More than 30 speakers have been confirmed, including Innovation and ICT Minister Don Punch. So this press release is about himself, who will deliver the opening address, and former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. Now, if this is a press release from... Okay, so if there's any politicians out there listening to this, is it normal for politicians to talk about themselves in the third person? Okay, whatever. So that just says to me that someone else has written this for Don Punch, and he probably has no idea what's in this. As the summit will be hosted by the WA Oz Cyber Innovation Hub in partnership with the Western Australian Data Science Innovation Hub and the MTP Connect WA Life Science Innovation Hub. Wow. Hubba. All three innovation hubs are funded by the McGowan government through a new industries fund and represent highly successful strategic and collaboration with national growth centres, universities and local government. So does this make this press release another infomercial for the Labor? This is just an ad. All right, let's see what Don Punch has to say about this. Cybercrime has no borders. No shit. We need to keep driving innovation in cybersecurity to ensure we are protected against growing global threats. Building local capacity and resilience is important for not only protecting Western Australian industry, but also to create new jobs and opportunities for economic growth. The summit theme, Cyber-Enabled Industry, has been developed to drive discussions about issues related to cyber threats and how they impact critical infrastructure, defence, law enforcement, health and education. Yeah, this is just an infomercial for Don Punch. Kind of pointless. I find it really interesting that the Honourable Don Punch, Minister for Innovation and ICT, is doing a discussion with the former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. So Don Punch is Labor, Turnbull is Liberal, but he's arguably a Labor person as well. They reckon he was a Labor plant for the whole entire time. Don't know. Bit of a nothing press release, that one. I find it strange that the government spends so much money on infomercials in these press releases. I think they've got a lot better... Because you got to remember, whether this is the Member of Parliament doing this or is one of their staffers, this is costing money. And I think this is a massive waste of money if they're doing infomercials rather than telling people about what actually happens. Okay, eligible areas for Cyclone Seroja relief extended, which I actually quite support. Okay, so 3 local government areas now eligible for state government Cyclone Seroja relief assistance. Residents and businesses in Carnarvon, Irwin and Corda, who are suffering financial hardship can apply for $4,000 in payments. Relief packages complement Commonwealth State financial assistance. I would have liked to have seen the businesses being able to grab a bit more money. $4,000 for a business is like pocket change. It doesn't really do anything. But we'll see. The state government Tropical Cyclone Seroja emergency assistance package has been expanded to include 3 new impacted local government areas. Residents and business in Carnarvon, Irwin and Corda who have suffered financial hardship as a result of tropical cyclone Saroja can now apply for up to $4,000. 16 local governments are now included. The eligible regions were expanded in line with the Commonwealth State Disaster Recovery Funding Agreement after further damage assessments. Tropical cyclone Saroja made landfall on April 11th, 2021, with an impacted area of more than 133,000 square kilometres. Residents whose homes were destroyed or severely damaged can apply for the state government grants. Small business owners who suffered financially as a result of the cyclone due to road closures can also access payments. These are really restricted. I wonder how many people can actually apply for these grants. So, first of all, residents whose homes were destroyed or severely damaged should have emergency accommodation as part of their insurance policies. So they should be getting emergency accommodation immediately through their insurance company. That's what we pay our premiums for. The insurance company should be going, yep, no worries, cyclone, boom, you're in. No questions asked, don't fight it, just do the right thing. The state government, I think, would be much better off putting pressure onto these insurance companies saying, do the right thing. You don't trade in WA. I think that's a lot better than a stance they should have taken. Small business owners who suffered financially as a result of the cyclone due to road closures can also access the payments. So let's say Kalbarri, which had 70% of their roofs removed, let's say due to the cyclone, 70% of the people had to be relocated to Geraldton for emergency accommodation. You owned a deli or a restaurant. You've got no power. Western Power have told you it's going to be 8 weeks before you get power. All the food in your fridges dies, so therefore you apply for this grant. Because there's no road closures preventing your customers from getting to you, you don't get the money. That's just stupid. Like, well, why would you put a condition like this on? God, you failed again, Reese. I'm sorry, but that you've just screwed this one up. There shouldn't have been a restriction on the roads. Okay, the following industry sectors are eligible. Small retailers such as specialty shops, hairdressers and bakeries, tourism business including tour operators and fishing boat charters, and hospitality venues including accommodation providers, cafes, restaurants and pubs. The eligible local governments are Carramar, Carnarvon, Chapman Valley, so that's just north of Geraldton, Coro, Delanue, then Dagaran, Greater Geraldton, Elwyn, Kooroodoora, Mininu, Morawa, Mount Marshall, Northampton, Perenjori, Shark Bay, and Wow, I made it all the way to Three Springs. Used to play football at Three Springs. When I played footy for Brigades, we always beat Northampton, which was always good. But Chapman Valley used to always kick our asses. Like they had such a good footy team. Alright, so residential payments can be accessed through the Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development website. So go to that link. Applications for small businesses are open on the Small Business Development Corporation's website. So if you're a small business, apply here. Applications for the grants opened last week and close on June 30th, 2021. So these comments might be a little bit interesting. The devastation caused by the cyclone is unlike anything else seen in Western Australia. Not true, but anyway. With an impact area of more than 130,000 square kilometres. As further assessments have been carried out, the true extent of the damage caused by Tropical Cyclone Saroja has become clear, and the areas eligible for state government relief have been expanded. So again, it's taken them 8 weeks to determine the range of the damages. I find it amazing that it's taken them that long to find out how bad of a damage the cyclone was. And they had heaps of warning. They should have known this was coming. Extending eligibility to the Shires of Carnarvon, Irwin and Kooroodoora has ensured consistency with the Commonwealth State Disaster Recovery Funding arrangements. The recovery will take some time, but the state government is committed to helping Midwest communities rebuild. I urge eligible residents and business owners to apply for the $4,000 grant to ease the financial burdens during this difficult time. Now, if the insurance companies had done their job properly, you wouldn't have had to do this. Okay, so Agricultural Regional MLC Sandra Carr. So she's the Upper House person. Reese Whitby is the State of Emergency person. Now, it'd be interesting to see if Sandra Carr is Labor or Liberal. So I am going to copy her name. Let's jump over here. Control V. MLC. I'm guessing she's a Labor. Fancy that, she's a Labor person. I wonder why we're not hearing from anyone else in the agricultural region. List of MLCs in the agricultural area. Members of Parliament, list of Members of Parliament. Okay, so we have the Nationals, Honourable Martin Aldridge. No comments from him, which I find kind of interesting. Okay. Martin Aldridge is a National, South Agriculture. We have Sandra Carr, which is Labor. Agricultural Region, Colin Stephen de Grasser, also a National Agricultural Region. So there's two Nationals out there, which they haven't asked for comments from. Then we've got the Stephen Martin, who's a Liberal, which we still haven't got a comment from. Then we've also got the Shelley Payne, Labor, Agricultural Region. Do we have any more? Was that 5 or 6? No, 5. And here we go. Darren West, ALP again. So this is another thing that's slightly concerning for me, especially with Parliament House. All the people who seem to be doing press releases since the election is nothing but, and this is coming from Parliament House, this isn't coming from Labor, these are Parliament House, this is coming from Parliament House itself. So why is there such a Labor bias on these press releases? Is it because Nationals and Liberals aren't actually doing anything, or is it because everything's pure? Parliament House is saying, right, it's the government, so only government-based press releases are allowed to come out. So one of the people for the Nationals in the Upper House is actually the shadow deputy leader of the Upper House. So she's an important person, but no comments from her, which I find this very concerning. Okay, so the damage comments from Sandra Carr. The damage caused by the cyclone is being felt right across the Midwest, and I'm pleased more areas have the opportunity to benefit from the state government's emergency relief package. This funding will lend a helping hand to those hardest hit by the cyclone Seroja as local communities work to get back on track. Now, are we only seeing Labor press releases about this because we're coming up to a federal election? The seat of Durack is massive on the federal side of things, and that's generally a national area. So I'm really concerned that this has been a bit of a play. I think the term they use is pork barreling. Let's just pump a heap of money into an area so they'll vote for us. My understanding, pork barreling is actually not allowed and extremely frowned upon. So this is just something I wouldn't mind your thoughts on, because I think it's crap. It's bad. Here we go. Time for a bit of racism. And that's not racism from me. This is racism from the, what's his name? Got his name. It's right here. Stephen Dawson, MLC, Minister for Aboriginal Affairs. Now, if you're wondering why I think this guy is a bit of a racist, is because his portfolio is racist. It is isolating a single group of people and the hell with everyone else. That is called racism. All right, throwing more money at it. $200,000 grants boost to preserve Aboriginal heritage sites. Okay, no. Worth it, yes. We need to preserve the Australian history, and the Aboriginal people are a part of our history. So this, yes, I can support this. I like this already. 10 Aboriginal groups to share the annual Aboriginal Heritage Grants package. So this isn't, how do I put this? It's not just throwing money at them to try and get votes. This is actually preserving historical sites and stuff like that. So I actually really, really like this because it's not money directly to the people, it's preserving the history of the people, which is good. Grants will preserve and protect cultural heritage and create local jobs and training opportunities. 1.7 million granted to more than 60 Aboriginal heritage sites since 2014. I hate to say this, that's probably not enough money. We actually need to give more money into preserving these sites. A lot of these sites are extremely important for the cultural benefits towards the Aboriginal people and the Aboriginal communities, and I think it's really, really important that we preserve these sites. What Rio Tinto did to those, they were mining and they accidentally blew up a heritage listed site. Yeah, huge fines. Okay, so Aboriginal communities and an array of cultural heritage projects across Western Australia will benefit from $200,000 state government grant package. The 2021 Preserving Our Aboriginal Sites Grants Program has awarded grants to 10 not-for-profit Aboriginal organisations to undertake projects that will protect and preserve registered Aboriginal sites across the state. Now, one of the things we need to do, we need to list every single Aboriginal site across Australia. If we can do mining all across Australia and like we can say, right, there's this ore here, there's that gold here, there's tin over there and all that sort of stuff, I think we need to sit down with all the Aboriginal leaders and all the local communities and go, right, this is a sacred site, this is a sacred site, and list every single sacred site around Australia, because then we can develop around those sites. I would really love to see the government turn around and say, right, from this date to 5 years in the time, you have that 5-year time period. After that, if any of these sites are not listed and we cannot geographically confirm that the Aboriginal people have made this a sacred site and actually set rules of engagement on this one, too bad, so sad. Because there's a saying up north is sacred sites will always be where a mine wants to be. Because then they have to pay to be able to do what they have to do. Anyway, so that's another thing. The grants will also foster economic development in local communities by creating jobs and building local skills and training opportunities through the various projects, methodologies employed to protect and preserve cultural heritage sites. So what they're talking about here is a lot of these, especially with the cave paintings, it's just using natural ochres. They don't last very well. So they've got to be, I don't know if they actually repaint them, but there's a lot of ways they can preserve them. And doing it can be very difficult. So preserving these sites, you've got to keep the sites, a lot of them, if you touch them, they'll just crumble away from the wall. So you've got to keep people away from it, you've got to keep animals away from it, you've got to keep the sites clean, you've got to keep them guarded because idiots are out there trying to spray paint on them, things like that. So there's always jobs going to be around there. But the other thing as well, a lot of the methods on how they create these things, you've got to be trained in how to do them. So it's a great way to, first of all, bring a sense of purpose to the Aboriginal community. By giving them the purpose, you can actually train them, educate them, give them jobs, and that will help to break the welfare dependency cycle. So it's really, really important on that side of things. My one concern with this one is, are they going to, what's what I'm looking for? Like with the Noongar community in the southwest of WA, they just got paid, I think it's $720 million from memory over the next 12 years. A big chunk of that, I think it's like 20% or something, is actually going to manage the trusts that hold the money. So I'm a little bit worried that the money that's been set aside for this will actually go into admin costs for these non-for-profit businesses. And then they'll just start taking the piss. So I think the one thing that a lot of these Aboriginal grants are missing is a proper, true and correct auditing and transparent system. The money needs to be accounted for. Anyway, this year the grants from $6,447 to $30,000 will help share cultural stories through interpretive signage designed by Aboriginal artists, install fencing to protect grave sites and to protect areas, establish a keeping place for cultural materials, and help preserve Aboriginal heritage through cultural mapping, site restoration, and ongoing land management and maintenance. Really, really important. So a lot of things are pretty good there. A keeping place. I'm not sure because they're using capitals for this. So this is like a name of a place, a keeping place. I've never heard of the term before, so I don't know what it is. Since 2004, 1.7 million has been helped more than 60 Aboriginal groups to manage registered Aboriginal sites and preserve important parts of the state history, which is, I don't mind that. Of these 60 groups, how many of them are actually genuine and legit? Don't know. Again, that's just going back to the transparency side of things. Other things I'd love to see, I think money towards other very important sites within Australia needs to be also assigned as well. Australian history is just not represented in our schools. There's not much. So we've got a few museums around it, but not many. Nowhere near as what some of the other countries have. So I would like to see more money spent on preserving the Australian history and culture. For example, the Fremantle Jail and a whole heap of other stuff. The resting place of the Batavia Coast up near on the Bryce Islands, things like that. Okay, so comments from Stephen Dawson. I congratulate these Aboriginal organisations for their success in identifying local projects that will preserve and protect their cultural heritage around the state. These grants reflect the McGowan government's ongoing commitment to the economic and cultural development of Aboriginal communities and preservation of their ancient heritage. The grants help traditional owners and knowledge holders transfer Aboriginal culture to emerging generations. I think that's actually really important. I think a lot of the problems we have in the cities is because a lot of the Indigenous communities within the cities have lost touch with their elders in the rural areas. So I'd like to see more of that come through. I think if there was more Aboriginal traditions taught actually at schools, I think there'd be a lot less problems. Protect cultural sites and tell stories of their heritage, local jobs and training benefits serve to preserve and promote new economic opportunities and share Aboriginal culture with the Western Australian community. So all in all, I don't mind it. Little lacking in details, no transparency upon who's applied for the money, who's getting the money, what they're using it for. So a little bit of that would have been nice. But all in all, yeah, I just don't like it when you favour one group of people over everyone else. So just because the Aboriginal people were here first doesn't mean the Caucasians, the Spanish, the Vietnamese, the Chinese, all the different races they actually call Australia home, doesn't mean that they haven't got their own histories about here. So, for example, as part of the first settlers, there was a whole heap of Muslims came along as well. That's how come we've got so many camels out in the desert. But what have we spoken about within the I think they were from Lebanon, from memory. I could be wrong on that, so please don't quote me on it. But yeah, I think there was 11 Muslim like animal controller herder people that came over to help assist with the settlers getting from the coast inland to explore. So they came along and they helped a lot. So anyway, there's no history about that in Australia at all. So anyway, let's have a look here. So this is Paul Paplia, CSC MLA Minister for Police. I really got to find out what CSC stands for. So if you do know, let us know in the comments. I'll have a look. Okay, so boost to police frontline with 59 officers to hit the streets. Now, it'll be very interesting to see where these go. So during, I think it was the 2017 state election, the McGowan government promised more, I think it was 120 extra police on the beat. So the city of Geraldton gained 40 admin staff, or like support staff, but then they actually lost, I think it was like 20 police officers. So they were, in the end, they were, by total number of police actually on the beat, they were down 12 police officers in a massively rising crime rate area. So I really, really, really hope this is genuine police who can help the community, not just office staff or police that are stuck in the station, because we have to be open 24 hours a day and there's only one police officer here. So okay, so building safer and stronger communities, 59 new officers to be deployed to the front line. Let's have a look here. Police Minister Paul Paplia has congratulated the Western Australian Police Force's 59 newest officers to graduate from the Joondalup Police Academy last night. Oh, so this isn't in addition. This is just like 59 officers that graduated. Is that it? No, I thought we'd get more. The recruits from Gold and Blue Squad have completed a 6-month intensive training course and will be deployed to Metropolitan and Regional WA for next week. The 38 men and 21 women of varying ages from 19 years old to 51 and come from a diverse range of previous employment backgrounds, including a former architect, carpenter, nurse, mechanic, bricklayer, electrician, and a real estate agent. Now, my understanding is there's also a Waffle AFL player as well. Last night, graduates reflect on the diversity of Western Australian community. 6 are Aboriginal and more than a third are born overseas, including countries such as Colombia, Russia and the United Kingdom, South Africa, India and New Zealand. 5 can speak a second language and 7 have served in the armed forces. The new officers will be deployed to a variety of police roles, including general duties, traffic enforcement and specialist operations. The Mayana government record police investment will see a 15% increase in the police force over the next 4 years. He's been promising that for 8 years now. The academy continues to be busier than ever with a further 265 recruits in training. Cool. I find that number really, really low considering we've got 2.7 million people in WA. Only 265 are training to be police officers. I find that scary. I find that real scary. And it kind of explains why we've got such a bad crime problem in places like Geraldton, Karratha, Dampier. A lot of these regional centres have massive crime problems. And then you go have a look at places like Armidale, Malaga, again, places with very bad crime. So Police Minister Paul Patlier, today marks the beginning of a new and exciting career for all our new officers. They have shown enormous determination and professionalism and will go on to make a positive difference to communities throughout Western Australia. Our government is delivering the single biggest boost to police officers' numbers in the state's history. And on top of extra officers' numbers, we're ensuring they have the equipment they need to keep the community safe. Okay, so what this gentleman needs is the backing of the Attorney General Quigley. One of the biggest problems that I'm finding after talking to people in the community is there's a very, very selected group of people that the police are targeting purely because they're under-resourced. So there's a lot of crimes in the community that are getting away with it. They're not even prosecuting it. A big one of that is youth crime. So when I talk about youth crime, these are people under the age of 18 who cannot be held accountable for the crimes that they're doing, in particular within the Indigenous community at the age of 12. I think it's 12, could be 10. Apparently, this is coming direct from the Geraldton Police. They have told me in person that they are not to touch any Aboriginal children. Doesn't matter what the crime they are committing. They are not to arrest them. They are not to prosecute them. They are not to pull them into the station. They are to totally leave them alone. So that just encourages people to commit more crimes, which is an extremely bad thing. So I genuinely feel sorry for Paul Patlier in this one because he's got a portfolio that's understaffed, probably underfunded. And on top of that, they've got apparently the best lawyer in the state saying, oh, no, you can't prosecute this, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't handle that one, you go to do that one, please ignore this one, and by the way, don't do anything with the family law. Oh, and don't touch perjury in the courts. So how he's expected to improve the culture within the policing industry, I do not... Oh, you could not give me his job. It's just shocking. And that's one of the things that I find a lot of people don't understand. A lot of the people would say, oh, I hate the police, they do this, they do that, da-da-da. The police that are on the beat, they're just following instructions. I know that's not an excuse for being a bad person, all that sort of stuff, but you got to remember these police have their own families they've got to support, they've got their own things they've got to do, they've got their own concerns and dramas and all that sort of stuff. And then your boss turns around and goes, oh no, don't worry about that, but if you start prosecuting it, we're not fire you on the spot. What are they supposed to do? I've been involved in a lot of rallies around Perth, and the police the guys actually on the beat, they're all absolutely awesome. They've been phenomenal. They've been fantastic. It's not them. Like, unfortunately, it's their bosses that are the wankers. And unfortunately, in this situation, poor Paplia has his hands tied because the Attorney General is saying, no, you can't prosecute this, you can't prosecute that. So he can't do his job properly. And that makes things extremely hard. It's like trying to play a game of AFL with only one arm. It's how you're supposed to bounce a football or hand pass if you only got one hand. Like, you can't do it. So, yeah. Good luck, Paul. I think you're going to need it. Yeah. I wonder if he's allowed to complain directly to Quigley and say, oi, stop being a wanker. Let me prosecute this. So it'll be interesting to see how he takes that one. Anyway, the good news is that is the last press release for today. Give it about 20 minutes or so. There'll probably be a few more coming through. But that has been Carter's Corner Daily for today. Again, I've been rating the government over the last couple. Couple of info commercials in there, bit of fluff. About the only one that was of any substance was actually the Roger Cook one, in my opinion. But he still failed that one because this inquiry and this panel should have been created, I think, maximum 4 weeks ago. It should be nearly halfway through its investigation by now. Any preventable death in a hospital should be investigated. So I want to throw a big shout out to the nurses unions for getting this done, because I think it was their protest that caused this. They did a phenomenal job. Well done, guys and girls. Just keep it out, keep challenging them, keep pushing it, and for everyone else who's out there trying to achieve something, power by numbers. The government is literally just there. All they do is chase votes. That's all they want. That's all they care about. So get your numbers together, make as much noise as you can, and you will make the changes. So well done to the nurses, and hopefully this inquiry will uncover what actually happened. So anyway, Travis Carter here for Carter's Corner Daily. I'll be logging off now. It is the 4th of June, and it's Friday. So I'll see you guys on probably Tuesday, because Monday's a public holiday over here. I'll let you know how I go. Anyway, have a wonderful weekend and stay safe.